All right, in this video we're going to graduate from the little 1x2 pine strips to cedar pickets. Great part about cedar pickets is they're very inexpensive and you can get them just about anywhere. So today we're going to build this fruit basket, harvest basket. You hear them called a little bit of everything online, and they're selling from anywhere from $20 to $50 online, but I'm going to show you how to make them for under $3. First, we got to decide if we're going to sand these smooth or leave them rough like you get them straight from the store. Now, if you sand them smooth, you can run these through a planer, or you can sand them with some 80 grit. It'll really knock that little edge right off of it really quick, because cedar's pretty soft, and it looks good once it's smooth out. But if you like the rustic look, there's nothing wrong with leaving it just as you get it from the store. So the first thing we've got to decide is how wide we want the end of the basket. So this one is 12 inches, not including the strips on the side. So we'll make this 12 inches as well. And let's cut it. Okay, so I've set my marking to 1 5/8 inches, and I'm going to come over to each side and I'm going to mark 1 5/8 inches. From this mark down, we're going to cut a 40-degree angle on our miter saw. All you have to do is move this to the 40-degree side. It does not have a hard stop, so you'll just have to stop it on 40 degrees and tighten it down. So my 10-inch miter saw will not cut an angle completely through the entire board, but it will if I come down the 1 5/8 inches. It will make this cut. And I know I didn't mention this, but I did not cut any of this cedar picket down. So we'll do the same thing for the other side. We'll move it over to 40 degrees and lock that down. So this is our first 12-inch piece, and what I'll do is I'll just use this and trace it out on the next one we're getting ready to cut, so that they keep them the same size. So what I did was I just laid this on. We'll make the 12-inch mark and the angles just by lining this on top of the board we're getting ready to cut. All right, we've got our two side pieces, and this is 1 5/8 inches to the angle, to the start of the angle. The angle is 40 degrees on your miter saw, and then now all we have to do is get the strips. Now you can make these strips any size you want. These on this basket are 17 inches for some reason. I'm not sure why I went with 17 and not 16, but we're gonna make this new basket 16 inches. So you can go ahead and cut this board 16 inches and then rip it into 1 1/2-inch strips, or you can rip 1 1/2-inch strips and then go cut it. One's just as easy as the other. These strips that go between the baskets will be 1 1/2 inches. So as you can see, I dropped my push stick. So if you ever get into this situation where your saw is running and you can't give it your undivided attention, just stop it down and regroup and then start it back up. Okay, so this should be enough 1 1/2-inch strips to get the 9 strips that we need for the basket. So I went ahead and marked this 16 inches. And what I'll do is I'll cut this first one, and then we'll make stop blocks to cut the rest to make it a lot quicker. So just like last time, what we'll do is we'll lock the blade down, and then we'll put our board in here, and then we'll come up with some way to make it stop there at the end. So we'll use one of our scrap pine pieces just to put in here temporarily for the stop block. And who remembers the most important part when doing the stop block? We're going to make sure that blade completely stops before we raise it up. Now if you were keeping count, you noticed I cut too many. That's because I always seem to mess one of them up. Now this next part, you're just going to have to figure out what works best for you, because we got to hold up both ends as we nail the strips in between them. So what I recommend is putting a dab of glue on each one of them and hitting it with a brad nail. But if you don't have a brad nail gun, you can easily put a screw in each one of these. It's just whatever you have on hand that works best for you. What I'm going to do is put my side piece up against my fence, giving me a little offset so I can get my nail gun in there. Dab of glue on, probably didn't need quite that much. And then we'll just set it against here. Push both of them together. We've got our first brad nail in, but I don't know if you can tell how bad warped that piece of board is or not. Now a lot of people will tell you there's a right way and a wrong way to shoot brad nails in, and the key is that the brad nail will go side to side, shoot side to side if you go through it. So if you're shooting through the piece of wood at this angle, the nail has a tendency to shoot out either side. So you don't want to be having your fingers in the back of this while you're doing that, and you want to keep this turned where the brad nail can only go inside the board and not shoot out the sides. So we're going to come around to the other side and do the exact same thing. And we'll put this over here for now. And we're just going to put another one right here. Let me get us some space to work with here. For our next piece, we're going to flip this around and do the exact same thing just on this side. Just like that. So, let me put just a little bit of glue on both sides. So I'm going to do the bottom pieces next. So what I like to do is I'll put the outside boards just on the edge of that 40-degree angle. And then on the center board, I just leave enough equal space between each one. There's two side pieces that go on each side, and I'll just try to space those out kind of equal, and I'll find me a piece of wood, scrap wood, to do my spacing with that. So I'm going to use a piece that when I was ripping the cedar pickets down to 1.5 inch, I'm just going to use one of those to help me get my spacing. The spacing's not going to be even, but with these it really doesn't matter. So I'll put that there, nail that, and then put this other one at the top for my spacer. It'll leave a little bit of a gap in between those two, but it should look fine. Remember how warped I told you this outside board was? Let me get a clamp to see if I can pull that in. And then I'll use the same spacer for the top piece. Now that we have it built, we're going to use this rope, jute rope, J-U-T-E, craft rope. We're going to use that and make handles out of it. I'm going to cut about 18 inches off, and we're going to start with a 1/2 inch hole. So what I found is the best placement is 3 inches over, 1 inch down. And that will give you the center point, basically of, we know that this is 12 inches, the center of 12 is 6. And then if that's 6, then this center of this is 3. So that's kind of why I say go 3 inches over, and it keeps it kind of symmetrical looking. Marking at 1 inch. We've already got our 3 inch over mark, so that's there. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Now we'll get a Forstner bit and drill that 1/2 inch hole. A lot of people ask how to keep from getting tear out when you're drilling these holes. I'll drill until I feel the tip of that come through, then I'll spin around and drill the other side. Okay, so I just felt the tip of it start to come through. So we'll stop there and we'll do the other one. So we'll do the same thing on this side. We'll mark over 3 inches on each side. And then we'll come down 1 inch. Okay, so we're going to use about 18 inches of this craft rope, and Usually I like to put something on the ends to keep them from fraying, because once these things start unraveling, you can't stop them. So I've used super glue, but if you use super glue, be very careful if you use the accelerant on this as well, because it causes a chemical reaction and it will cause the rope to start really melting and smoking even. You also want to make sure, if you do use the super glue method, I'm just going to spray a little on there. If you do hit it with the accelerant, make sure you're in a well ventilated room, because you may see this start to smoke in a minute. We'll just push the rope through, tie a knot on the back side. And then do the same thing on the other side. So that's what 18 inches gave us. I'm not quite happy with that, so let's cut something different. So we had 18 inches that gave us this shorter rope. Let's try 24 and see where that takes us. All right, I think 24 looks much better. Here's our last 24-inch piece that we've got to put in, and we'll just slide that in and tie the knots on that, and we'll be just about done with this. And I just tie a regular old knot in it. Nothing special. I don't know. So we'll just tie another knot in it. Okay, so here's the finished product. We've got both ropes on, and it turned out pretty well. And like I say, I've seen these going on online, selling for anywhere from $30 to $50, and I've seen where people also make a smaller version that nest inside, and then they sell them as a package deal. So you know, give it a shot. Let me know. I know you can make it, and feel free to give me some comments and let me know how it turned out for you. I'll see you guys next time.